Alright, so it turns out it didn't crash, which is nice. And, well, you can already see what's unusual about this place. Basically, it's just this giant grid, like park-like grid, I'm not sure what you'd call it, with large cells and small cells. The large cells, which are roughly circular, have either 1 for big trees like this one, or 5 for small trees like these ones. Just one of each species, basically, and then the small ones have bees in them, into apiaries. There's some tropicals, 2 industriuses, and an imperial in each of these. Some of the tropicals actually have jadids down there. I'll explain. Actually, I'll just tell you. The jaded bees, I know normally they can only be bred in an apiary placed by jaded cat. Well, the Mutatron doesn't care about that, so I decided to use the jaded bees where I could, or where I needed them. They also have some really good genes, so they're good for extracting the maximum range, beatific effect, and maximum flowering genes. In fact, the funny thing about the maximum flowering, I don't know where the damage noises are coming from, but the funny thing about the maximum flowering gene, it's called literally GUI.maximum. It's basically so big it broke the localizations, it's off the scale, which is funny. But anyways, over here we've got a couple vanilla trees as well because, well, we needed those for some of the genes, or some of the pollen rather. Anyways, we've got, I couldn't possibly identify any of these just by looking at them aside from a couple. I believe that's one of the kapok tree or whatever it's called. For example, white willow, rainbow gum, which lives up to its name. Anyways, it's there's the sequoia. Hasn't loaded yet. Anyways, yeah, I've got one of every kind of tree in both extra bees and forestry because, well, why not? Also, I wanted some of the woods because some of them look quite nice. Not all of them. Some of them are really quite unappealing, but some of them are really nice. And some of the trees, like especially this one, the hemlock, they look really nice. This is the one where I mentioned where it didn't work at all, trying to mess with the size genes. We've also got 2 balsas because balsa has almost no leaves, and I needed some pollen off of it pretty urgently. Anyways, I'm not quite sure why I'm having my potion effects going all over the place. Anyways, I have also retextured the poplar because it didn't look very nice in the default texture pack. Or default textures, rather. Anyways, let's go find the book back. I don't know where it is because there's flowers everywhere. There's tons and tons and tons of trees. Desert acacia. Yeah, this is quite a nice place. It's like a park. I'm quite happy I got it to work out as well as it did. Oh, there's the book. Anyway, and oh yeah, these birds, I imported them from the Twilight Forest for ambient effect. Took a lot of safari nets. Anyways. Alright. And let everything load properly. That world has nothing interesting in it. Let's see, what else has changed? I don't believe I've changed anything in the Twilight Forest. I don't think I've even visited the Twilight Forest since the last video. No, I haven't. Well, actually, that's not true. I cleared out a hollow hill, but aside from that, nothing. Oh yeah, I was going to show you how my backup power system. So basically what happens is, as I showed you, all that blue wire, the light blue wire comes on. And what that'll do, in addition to shutting down all the power sinks, basically it's the same thing as all those transmitters you see over there, is it'll turn on the jet engine backup power. You can see I've redesigned this to be a little bit nicer and a little bit more efficient on space. And it just basically runs all of these dynamos. Now the dynamos can handle this once you put a gearbox there to slow it down. So 6 jet engines, it's a little over 360 megawatts of power. So that's enough to keep, the ME system and some of the critical stuff running, and the stuff, that doesn't have shutdown capability. So basically these will come online right as the last turbine fails. So that way the system never goes very long without power. And then all of this stuff, which draws way too much power for that backup to handle, just is off. And over here we've got those level emitters I mentioned for the 2 fill bars in the fusion reactor control room. I just picked random, well not random, but wireless transmitter channels I didn't think I'd ever use. And here I've just made a slight change to the mob farm, put a window here just so I could see mobs in front of the harvesters if I so desired. I tried having a wither farm here too, it didn't work. The wither, he floats up, he can see through glass, so he floats up above these harvesters and doesn't actually die. We've got some fluid compression chambers, basically just mass storage of liquid with massive amounts of torque. For some reason, it's either Wayla's not working on them and saying it's empty when it's not, or the liquid's not getting saved in them. I'm not sure which. Hopefully the former, because I'd rather not lose massive quantities of liquid, but I honestly don't know which is the case. Anyways, you can see I've upgraded the water supply to the extractors because I need 2 pumps now because I've got more extractors. Moved all the ME drives down here because, well, there were too many of them, and it was messy. I had, as you might remember, I had them just scattered all over the place. If I could get up here, I had like 2 here and 3 here and 1 over there, and it was just dumb. So I just decided to make it a little more organized. Anyways, oh, by the way, those blinking those 2 transmitters that blinks back and forth, it's hooked up to these, or it's supposed to be. And then so the one route would come on and the other, and this would blink back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Basically sort of an alarm. So that way I'd know if the fusion reactor had failed, you know, ran out of fuel or something. Anyways, this time around there's actually have been some fairly major changes to the nether, so let's go there now. I'm going to need to... Well, actually it doesn't really matter. And you're probably going to start hearing noises as soon as I go there. That's okay. I always run out the wrong way. Let's go over this way. For one, okay, that gets rid of all the secret, doesn't it? But anyway, I set up a bore tower. It's a very short one because I didn't want to dig the whole nether. Just the intention is to pull up some, what is it called? Hey, look, there's a heat scar on the roof of the nether up there. But the intention was to pull up some cobalt and ardite. I didn't actually succeed very well in that. That's why I went to the bees. See if that worked better. But it pulled up something, so it's better than nothing. But anyways, the other more important changes, let's just drop down here. Hopefully there isn't a nitro creeper right there. No. And yeah, so there's a wither farm in here. So basically we've got 3 shock panels from expanded redstone. This is the instant kill version, the one that requires another star to make. Every couple seconds it fires, and it immediately kill the wither in 1 hit. Obviously he can't explode while he's blue and still, you know, charging up his health bar, but as soon as he turns black and explodes, like he did, they'll die, and then I'll get another star from him. For some reason this thing only runs when I'm in the nether. Even though this area is chunk loaded, it just won't spawn. Which is interesting, but not really a big deal. I don't need nether stars that frequently. And I'll show you how it works. The automated nether builder, there's an entrance up here. The way it basically works is, oh, this one's rising up. I think that's the behavior I described earlier. Anyways, what basically happens is we've got some, go to the front. We've got 1 autonomous activator behind his head, and that places a piece of soul sand, and then we've got 3 block placers, which place 3 more soul sand, and then 3 item effectors, the block placer and item effector from expanded redstone, and those place the wither skulls. And I've given them a special power. Normally you have to place the skull last in order to be able to build the wither. I made it so that no matter what, it'll build the wither, because you get any order working, especially with the autonomous activator not being able to be controlled, you know, time-wise, made it too much of a headache. And then we've just got the inputs plug right here. I find it funny that the explosion doesn't do any sort of damage to me whatsoever. Anyways, there's the timer controlling the whole thing. And the reason I can afford that many wither skulls, well, is that Nikolite? No, that's silver. The reason I can afford that many wither skulls is just get rid of that nitro creeper, because he's going to be a pain in the ass for me. There's the other one. Okay. Is over here. You're probably already here. This is an automated wither skeleton farm. The way it works, you go up here. That noise is a little bit annoying. Smaller, scaled down version basically of the other mob farm. We've got 2 spawners. No window here because they need the dark to spawn. 2 spawner doors maxed out, 2 skeleton spawners. 2 skeleton spawners will spawn wither skeletons in the nether. And then just the standard mob harvester setup down here, and an item vacuum to pick up both the experience and the drops. Won't pick up the bombcraft aspect drops or whatever else. I'm debating making it do that. I'm not quite sure how that would work. Now the expanded redstone shock panel won't drop experience, so I don't have to worry about that from the wither. I don't have to worry about collecting experience, so I just use that operant set because it's a little bit easier, doesn't require any power. Anyways, and And the reason I've got this wall here, partly to shield it from ghasts being able to see in, and partly because, as you can see, sometimes items just fly past and then they land in the lava. I don't know why it happens, but they do. Anyways, going back up now. And by the way, that wither spawn sound is actually same volume no matter where you are, even interdimensionally. You'll see that in a second. I go to the overworld, and you'll still be hearing that loud thump, which is actually a good thing. Come to think of it, that it doesn't work. Because, like, it doesn't work when I'm not in the nether, because otherwise I'd be hearing that noise constantly. And that would be very, very upsetting. Anyways, just drop off this stuff. I don't need that anymore. And there he goes. That's exactly what I mean. We'll only play a couple of times, folks. There's only a couple of nethers, couple withers stored up. Let's see what else. I put a light bridge up here because I felt it was appropriate. It gives me a way to run across rather the farm without actually attracting all the drops from it, because I have magnet mode on, so it would normally pull the essence all over the place. It's kind of nice to be able to run across the whole thing. I've also got a lily pad bridge going the other way. I don't know why. I used to have lily pads in every single one of them. Some of them seem to be popping off, which is annoying. Not a big deal, though. Anyways, I don't remember if this was in the last video, but I got a little nether wart farm over there now because I needed it for some potions, I believe. Not entirely sure what I needed it for, but I remember I needed it for at one point. Let's see, I don't believe I've changed... Oh yes, I did change a couple things. Over here I also built a bridge, just because it felt appropriate to continue the path. Redwood planks from Mobs of Plenty and Sakura wood from Natura, just, you know, kind of a beam bridge. And it just goes, dives down underneath. Just a tunnel. As you can see up ahead in the minimap, I actually hit a ravine. Don't know why the game's just frozen for a second. And, well, I tried to imitate an abandoned mine shaft here because, well, why not? Bridge through the ravine, and it just goes out the outside, opens up into a desert. Anyways, I also similarly extended it on another side on the left. You'll see that in a second. I'll just run around the house rather than going through it. Strange lag spike, that's okay. I made this sand like I said I would in the last video, so it looks nicer. And yeah, I just made another tunnel all the way through. It goes a little bit further than it did last time. I don't remember if it was in the last video or not. But it just allows me another easy access to, well, this part of the map. It also, since spawns off that way, it provides me a bit of an easy access to spawn. Also, this right here is about the maximum range of that magnum torch over there. So this is pretty much the safe limit of, well, the perimeter of my territory. About halfway to spawn, so well, maybe not halfway, quarter of the way. So it is convenient. I also built a couple houses on the way, tiny little houses. Just that way, if I ever, for whatever reason, die or something, get caught out with no armor, and, you know, no bed, no nothing, and get transferred back to the vanilla spawn point, it's night, well, I can sleep it out. I haven't changed the end, so there's no point going there. I believe that's it for all the changes. I don't think there's anything else that I haven't covered. Well, rearrange this a little bit. I'm using a rock melter instead of a magma crucible now because the magma crucible is too slow to be really usable in this sort of setup anymore. Rock melter, I was given the ability to do most of the recipes thermal expansion crucible can do, so I can melt down glowstone, I can melt down redstone, that sort of thing. But it's currently not on because I don't need it. I made a lot of liquid glowstone though, as you'll see if I open this up. Glowstone, that's lubricant. Glowstone, 2,000 buckets. Yeah. And, okay, so I have 100 buckets of turpentine, oh well. Let's see what else. There's really not much else. As you can probably see on the mini-map, I changed the design on the roof here. It was initially just solid great wood planks. I felt this would be a little more interesting, just to have a design somewhat similar in style to the rest of the house. Makes the roof a little more interesting. It's also just kind of similar to the design I had on the house in 1.5. Okay, it's interesting that the fire beetle's shadow is being cast on the ceiling. That's very, very interesting. I wonder if that's a bug in Twilight Forest. Anyway. So, just one thing I wanted to say, and again, and ask for possible solutions. Those who watched the last video remember this laggy area over here, the one that causes really bad frame rate problems as soon as I go in, and you'll see that in a second. Like this. Some people suggested that it was mobs or something like that. That was one of the first things I thought of, but that's actually not the case. I've tried clearing all of the entities in MC Edit, that didn't solve the problem. And I've also tried it in Peaceful, and that didn't solve the problem. So it's not mobs, and it's not entities. I've also tried deleting some of the chunks, that didn't solve the problem either. But deleting the front half of my house, the chunks those are in, did solve the problem. So deleting basically from right about when I get there, it's taking longer than I'd hope. Okay, so from here to about the nether portal, a little further back. And so the whole width of the house, deleting all of those chunks does fix the lag problem, which is very confusing because I've got no idea what might be causing that. I don't know why deleting something over here would fix lag over there. Although one thing that occurred to me is perhaps related. Initially I used to have some rotorcraft floodlights mounted over there, like those floodlights there used to be on the other side, aiming out that way. And perhaps it was like lag from the light blocks or something, but then deleting the chunks over there would solve the problem. Deleting these floodlights here wouldn't. And yes, I've tried breaking these floodlights, it doesn't solve the problem. So I don't know what's going on there. It's just annoying. It might be like a corrupt chunk or something. I have been experiencing a number of chunk corruptions with this map now. It's actually kind of, it seems to have mostly stabilized. I don't know why it was happening as much as it did, but I'll show you an example of one. The worst one I have. I was worried it was going to eat the map, but since it's stabilized, it doesn't seem to be too much of a problem anymore. Nope, not through here. A little over here. It stands out on the mini-map. You'll notice the trees are kind of cut off. There's one here, and then right over here you'll see this is the original terrain over here, and then this chunk here is just sheared right off. And, well, the reason it's generating differently is because, as I said in the last video, I installed Thaumcraft in this world after generating this area. So what happened is, when you install a mod that adds biomes, it totally remaps the terrain, and so that's what happened here. Chances are what I'm going to end up doing is making a copy of this world, removing Thaumcraft, generating the chunks, taking like pulling out the chunks I want to pull into my real world, and then reinstalling Thaumcraft and just copying it over. That should work, although it's a lot of work, and which is why I haven't done it yet. There's also some smaller chunk corruptions over here, which is just why you see trees sometimes sheared off smoothly. I'll show you an example of that. It's also, interestingly, in the path of this path, right around here, there's a that says desert biome. You can see the grass is kind of a yellowy color. I don't know why that happened. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And that's perhaps related, except this is very old. This predates most of the other eras, so I honestly don't know. There's also a similar thing over by the coast, the coast this way. You'll see. Let's get across this ravine right over here. That's where all this sand is. It's a little smoother now. I made it look nicer, but there used to be as you can see, it's also a desert. It used to be a big square. Like you see underneath the waters where the square pattern was. But interestingly, this had been desert for a long time, but it didn't have a big square of sand. And then all of a sudden, once, I don't know quite when, it did have a square of sand, which is very strange. It's like the biomes got remapped, and then later the world gen sort of caught up with it, which is confusing and concerning. But anyways, I was crashing with a lot of chunk-related concurrent modification exceptions. Here's an example of a sheared-off tree in a sudden void in the forest, and there's another one. Why is there an iron panther? But anyway, I suspect what was happening is every time I crashed, one chunk would get corrupted, like whatever chunk that caused the crash, basically. And then when I stopped crashing, which has stopped happening, the problem went away. And I don't know what was going on behind the scenes to cause it, although I noticed it was partly brought on by changes in some of my code. And what I think might be at play, some long-time users of my mods might remember when I tried to introduce Retrogen to Reactorcraft and Geostrata and Dytrees. And it didn't work. It caused all sorts of crashes for all sorts of people, not to mention severe lag. And, well, this world was generated in that time when that Retrogener was active. So what might have happened is that corrupted this world's data somehow. And then, well, the effect, even after I disabled the retrogen, new worlds were fine. Like it didn't cause any problems with them. But worlds that had been created during that time perhaps were left with problems. And since this world did survive, unlike most of the others, I had to totally remove all references to that code to get it to stop crashing, because that seems to be what fixed the problem. It's very strange, and I don't quite understand what's going on, but it did stop, so I'm happy about that. But anyways, so having covered just about everything that's changed. Oh, actually not quite everything. There's one other change. As per someone's suggestion, which I quite appreciated, by the way. Oh, look, another fluid duct that isn't working properly. I replaced those faucets, taps, whatever, with fluid ducts to pull out of the smeltery drain. And yes, it's many times faster. It's far superior to using the taps. So I thank you for that solution. Anyways, that this time around actually is everything that's changed. So with that, I think I'm going to end the video, and like last time, hope that this has provided both information on what kinds of changes have been brought about in my mods, and therefore what you're going to need to do to change your setups, because some of the old setups are not going to work, especially those who have been upgrading from versions of Monster. As of the time of making this video, Monster, the latest version is 1.1.1, I believe, and that contains v19b of my mods, which is like 3-4 months out of date. And so a lot has changed since then. So if you built it in Monster, chances are it doesn't work anymore. So be aware of that. Anyways, so I'll leave it at that.